With every new season that comes to Destiny 2, we usually get a bunch of new weapons to try out and see if they are worth using or worth your time to try and get. With there being so many guns to choose from in Destiny 2, it's hard to know what you should actually be using, whether that gun is the best at what it does or if you just like using it. As every single season comes and goes in Destiny, the gun meta always seems to be changing. So, in today's video, I want to cover the top 10 most popular weapons that are being used this current season. These weapons are the most used probably because they are the best at what they do, or just because they are new and people are trying to see if they're any good. Make sure you stick around right to the end of the video to see exactly what weapons are being used. Kicking this list off with number 10, we have none other than the Quicksilver Storm. Not only is this exotic rifle an absolute powerhouse, it is also especially used this season because of the Overload Auto Rifle mod in the Artifact mods. Ever since the Quicksilver Storm has come out, this weapon has always been in the top 10 most used weapon every single season, and it's for a pretty good reason. With this weapon doing pretty good kinetic damage and the ability to do massive special weapon damage with its grenade launcher, this weapon is seriously one you should be using. If you ever need to use an auto rifle for PvE activities, the Quicksilver Storm should be your first option. Moving on to number 9, we have everyone's favorite grenade launcher, the Hord. Now, the Hord actually dropped out of the top 10 most used weapons for last season, however this season it has snuck back into number 9. Now, the Hord has definitely secured this spot as number 9 because of the new dungeon that has come out. The Hord is amazing at doing DPS to bosses, especially because you can stick the boss. While it does damage, you can then switch to a different weapon and do extra damage. The only downside to the Hord is actually getting the catalyst for the Hord. That quest chain can be a little bit tough. But trust me, if you haven't done it and you don't have the Hord catalyst, it seriously makes this gun absolutely 100 times better, so make sure you go and get that catalyst if you haven't already. Coming in at number 8, we have the epocal integration, which I am very surprised to see in the top 10 most used weapons for Season of the Wish. This is such a random weapon to be coming back and being used by players because this one came out a few seasons ago. Us players kind of did the mission, got the weapon, tried it out, and then said, yeah, alright, cool, and then put it away in the vault. But this weapon is actually pretty slept on because it's actually pretty good. Not only is this weapon one of the best looking weapons in the entire game, it can roll with some pretty good perks. It is a fixed gun, so you get to choose between 4 perks. In the first slot, you get to choose Keep Away or Stats for All. In the second column, you can choose of Eye of the Storm or Incandescent. For me, I like to use Keep Away and Incandescent, and to be fair, this weapon is actually pretty good. Moving on to number 7, this one actually surprised me, being that it is the Amit AR2. Now don't get me wrong here, the Amit AR2 is a wonderful weapon. It is seriously amazing to use in both PvE and also PvP. However, I would think that the Quicksilver Storm would have actually beaten this gun in the list, but hey, look, that's what the players want to use. Now, I suspect the Amit AR2 is up here because it is not exotic like the Quicksilver Storm, so this will free up your exotic slot for something like the new Dragon's Breath or any other exotic in the list. Now, because this is our first legendary weapon in the list, I'm going to tell you the best perks to run on this weapon for PvE and how to get it. In my opinion, the 2 best perks that you can use for this gun would have to be Triple Tap and Incandescent. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone that's watching this video already has this weapon crafted because you get this one by unlocking the crafting station through the Witch Queen campaign. It's pretty simple and I doubt no one in this list actually doesn't have it. Moving on to number 6, we have everyone's favorite submachine gun, the Callous MiniTool. I think it's pretty safe to say that the most used subclass for every Guardian would have to be Solar. So by using solar weapons, this works very well with everyone's Solar subclass. And the Callous MiniTool is obviously Solar. Now, the 2 best perks that everyone is running on this weapon would have to be Unrelenting and Incandescent. With Unrelenting on, every time you kill a couple mobs in the game, you are going to get your health regeneration to start, and obviously Incandescent makes sure that everything blows up and dies. Now, the Callous MiniTool is obtainable through the exotic mission rotator. The mission you want to look out for is Presage, so whenever that comes out, make sure to grind it when you can. Moving on to our next weapon, we have the Zauli's Bane. Now, the Zauli's Bane is my second favorite hand cannon, which follows right after the Sunshot. Now, the Zauli's Bane is basically a mini Sunshot. With the Zauli's Bane being able to roll with explosive payload and incandescent, it pretty much feels like a Sunshot. It just doesn't have the same exotic perk that the Sunshot has. but by using the Zhali's Bane instead of the Sunshot, this will free up your exotic slot to use a different exotic, like a primary or even a heavy exotic. Now the Zhali's Bane is obtainable through the King's Fall raid, so if you've been slacking on doing those raids, make sure to jump in there and try and get one crafted whenever you can possible, because trust me, this weapon is seriously good. Coming in at number 4, we have the Apex Predator rocket launcher from none other than the Last Wish raid. Now in my opinion, the Apex Predator is the best rocket launcher in the game that you can be using to do the most damage possible. The Apex Predator can roll with reconstruction and bait and switch, making it the most simple yet effective rocket launcher to use in a DPS rotation, with the ability to have 2 rockets or more do 35% increased damage, and with reconstruction being able to automatically reload that gun while you can do damage with a different gun, this weapon is just unreal. Now I do understand that other rocket launchers in the game can technically do more damage, but to do this it requires a lot of different tech and to do very specific things in very specific orders so that you don't mess up your rotation. Whereas the Apex Predator is super simple. Shoot a rocket and then tag the enemy with your other 2 weapons, and then switch back to the rocket and you have bait and switch procced and 2 rockets ready to go. The rotation is super simple and it does a lot of damage. Now like I said just before, the Apex Predator is obtainable through the Last Wish raid. Now the easiest way to get all of these weapons is to farm the first boss Callie and do the Callie cheese. If you don't know what I'm talking about, search into YouTube Destiny 2 Callie cheese and you'll get it pretty quick. Moving on to our top 3 most used weapons this season, in number 3 we have the Riptide. Just like all of the past few seasons, the Riptide has been in the top 10 most used weapons for all of these seasons. Even though Bungie tried to nerf the Riptide and Stasis, it is still an amazing weapon that I recommend every single player tries to get. If you don't know what a Riptide is, it is basically a stasis rapid-fire fusion rifle. So in any activity of Destiny 2, all you need to do is fire a few bursts into an enemy, and that enemy is now frozen. So for all of your endgame activities, the Riptide is an amazing weapon to use, especially when you're trying to kill champions. Freezing them is honestly just broken. Now the Riptide actually used to freeze enemies in 2 bursts, but unfortunately you need to do 3 bursts now to freeze them. However, because this is a rapid-fire fusion rifle, it really isn't that bad. Now the 2 best perks that you are going to want to look out for on the Riptide is auto-loading holster and chill clip. If you don't have chill clip on the Riptide, it won't freeze them. You need to make sure that you get chill clip on the gun. Now because this gun is pretty rare and hard to obtain, if you get any Riptide with chill clip, just keep it. It's going to be the best one that you will get until you can get lucky enough to get something like auto-loading holster and chill clip. Another great one to look out for is lead from gold or even field prep. Honestly, the main perk you look out for is just chill clip. The only way to obtain this weapon is play Crucible, get Crucible engrams, head over to Shacks, and then decode them into Riptides. Unfortunately, this is a little bit of a grind, but trust me, this weapon is 100% worth trying to get. Moving on to number 2, we have everyone's newest favorite hand cannon, the exotic Sunshot. Ever since we got that flat damage boost to hand cannons a couple of seasons ago, hand cannons have been reigning supreme as the best weapons to use inside of PvE. And obviously the Sunshot is one of the best exotic hand cannons to use. It has incredible DPS with all of its exotic perks. This weapon is just amazing. It speaks for itself. If you haven't tried the Sunshot out, make sure you try and get it and then give it a go. Finally, wrapping this list up with number 1, the most popular weapon that everyone is using this season is none other than the newest exotic, the Dragon's Breath. Now, obviously, this one is the most popular weapon to use this season because it is the newest weapon that we have gotten and everyone wants to try it out and see if it's actually pretty good. Now, to be fair, for myself, I haven't actually fully tested this gun out yet, but from what I've heard and seen on YouTube, the Dragon's Breath is actually incredible, and it is definitely worth using if you haven't given it a proper go yet. From what I've seen, this weapon can actually do some pretty good DPS to bosses in endgame activities. So if you haven't given the Dragon's Breath a go, I definitely recommend you give it a go. But anyway, Guardians, that will wrap the top 10 list up there. Those are your top 10 most popular weapons used in Destiny 2 for Season of the Wish. These weapons are being used because they are the best at what they do, and if you haven't gotten any of these weapons, I seriously recommend that you try and get them. Thank you, Guardians, for watching this video. If you've gotten this far, again, thank you so much for watching. It means a lot. Maybe consider dropping a like, subscribe, and comment, and all of that other good stuff down below. But again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.